We're here at the Mike Bray Dome in Marlow, getting ready to pour the footing. This is a 54'7" diameter dome. The footing is 18 inches by 18 inches, and then we have another 4-foot pier at each one of the vertices that's about 4 feet deep. 1/2-inch rebar. I don't know if you can see down in that hole or not, but it's an 18-inch diameter hole, about 4 feet, 4 to 5 feet, and then another 18 inches on the footing. It's really overbuilt. I mean, it's more than I called for, but I appreciate that he did it this way. It looks really good. Here's a picture of the lake. Here's where we're going to be sitting at. "101 on the inside."
Just getting going, huh?
Yeah, he just now showed up.
You got those, okay.
Yeah. There you go. Hey, here's the bill. I just signed for it. You don't want to call her. She's nasty and no good. Don't let your wife know that number's on there. I'd get rid of that number.
Who is it?
It's a gal named JT. She's nothing but trouble.
This worked out pretty good, didn't it, James?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
It looks great.
It's nice. Boy, we had nails looking in the hole.
Okay. This is the footing, and the concrete guy gets an A+ on this footing that he poured with the piers. I just got done measuring these columns out here, this one and this one, and these two over here, and they're right on the money. The footings you seen earlier with the piers is less labor, it's less concrete, and it's stronger. We're going to end up with a 6-inch slab instead of 3.5 inches. That's where the concrete's going. And because it's a radiant floor system, that will give us a bigger battery to hold that heat in. That's why we went this way. Concrete's not strong. Sorry. Everybody thinks concrete domes are the way to go. Concrete's not strong. Reinforced concrete is strong. You have to have a lot of steel in it. We went with 1/2-inch rebar on this. Usually what you get is a wire mesh, 10-inch or 6-inch wire, and what happens is they will run that across the slab there, and then when they pour the concrete, it just forces that mesh down into the dirt, and so it gives very little support to the concrete, because all your your wire, your steel, your reinforcement is in the dirt. This is old school. This is the way they did it 50 years ago. Nice big pieces of steel. There'll be 1/2-inch steel running on 16 or 12-inch centers and a grid going across this, and then we'll tie our PEX tubing to that for the radiant floor system. And it'll have 5.5 inches or 5.5 to 6 inch concrete slab. We'll be putting some pads in there, some lily pads, what I call them, to support some columns that are going to help support the second floor. If you look right over here, I'm going to swing over here. This is our form material, and these are 2x8s because we're going to have to come, you know, the slab is 6 inches, but we're starting with 2x8s because there's going to be 1 inch of foam in the bottom of it. We're going to have to put in a little sand to get the grade nice and level. And then there'll be 1 inch of foam. That foam is to make sure that all of the heat that we have in the radiant floor goes back into the dome and not into the ground. It's not absorbed into the ground. I know a lot of you have studied this kind of stuff on YouTube and you know, on the internet, but that's how it works. These forms are really simple. They're cut at 9 degrees on the bottom. You're looking at the outside of the board, and you lay them out in a nice long run, about 3 at a time. Screw in the other side, and it will make a joint at each one of the vertices. It's the same as the base wall. All of the risers on the base wall are the same. It's 102 5/8 on this side. People ask, well, why do you use a 4-frequency dome? It's because things are so much simpler when everything's consistent, everything's the same. You go to a 3-frequency, and the dome doesn't sit flat. It's up and down, and the riser walls are different lengths. With your even frequencies, they will sit flat on the ground at the hemisphere, and all of the base triangles are the same length. So it makes it very simple. And with a 4-frequency, you know, you're talking smaller triangles. There's more of them, but they're smaller. Like this is one of the larger sizes, the bottom size of the EDD triangle, which is next to the biggest, and that's 102 5/8. That's the long side. So if you were building a 3-frequency, that triangle would be more in the neighborhood of about 13, 14 feet, you know, which is too big, you know, really to build a panel dome out of. I mean, even with a scissor lift, you know, it takes 4 or 5 guys to pick these up and put them in place. You'll see when we get the triangles out here in the next couple of weeks. So that's the update on the concrete, the footing, and what we're planning on doing. But like I say, it's this guy did a really nice job. I'm looking forward. You know, the extra time that the concrete man puts into doing it right and getting it level, it saves time when you erect it. So, you know, it's like the guy says, you can pay me now or you can pay me later. You know, if you go ahead and do it right the first time, it all starts with the foundation. Every time. If the foundation's right, then all the rest of it, right up to the last shingle or whatever you fix on top of the house or your home or your dome, is going to work like it's supposed to. So I'm very pleased with this concrete guy. Did me a nice job. Did us a nice job. And that's it for today. Here at the Mike Bray Dome. This is going to look nice. It's going to be a showstopper. Recording here. We're here with Mike Bray this afternoon. They just got done putting the insulation in. Mike's going to tell you a little bit about this radiant barrier insulation.
It's called double bubble. It's foil on one side, plastic on the other, and it was about $850 to do this 54-foot dome.
Comes in at what size was the rolls?
I think they were 6 by about 6, or I don't even know, maybe 150, something like that.
Okay, so two rolls?
4 rolls.
You bought 4 rolls?
I think there were about 26 or 700 square feet for those
And so you guys did this morning. It took you how long?
It didn't take very long to roll the big part out, but it took a couple days to dig the trench around it and put the perimeter insulation.
Yeah, what he's talking about is right here around the inside of the footing. That you can see where there's a gap there. They took that out with the trencher.
24 inches.
Went 24 inches deep and dug that out so they could put this barrier up against the footing that way, so none of the energy is going out that way. And like we said before, this is going to be a 5.5 inch slab, so the bank is a lot bigger. The extra money for the concrete is negligible for the added reservoir that you get. You get a much bigger battery that way. So you ran a trencher around there, but this in here took you
just maybe an hour for 4 guys.
An hour, 4 guys,
yeah.
And then they came in and they did the steel today too. So they did the steel in one day. Half a day. And Steve, and how many on his crew were?
There were only 3 of them when I was here. I think maybe one more came.
Well, they were hustling pretty good. Plumbing looks good.
Bunch of radiant pipes. Slab.
Yeah, you want to talk about the radiant? Tell them your idea about the air conditioning on it.
Running a well, which it'll be 100 feet from the house, and we supplement our ski lake with well water, so we're going to run the well water in the summer through the radiant floor.
Did you hear that? He's going to run the well water, which is about, what did you say, 55?
About 55 to 60.
About 55 to 60 degrees. He's going to run that through the radiant floor system to cool the dome during the summer hours. And then tell them a little bit about the insulation, what you're going to do on the insulation.
It'll be 1 inch of closed cell foam, and then fill the 2x6 triangles with open cell and then sheetrock.
Yeah, so again, it's 5.5 inches, 1 inch of the closed cell polyurethane, and 4.5 inches of the open cell. So it'll be well insulated. And he's going with the Elastomeric roofing, which I highly recommend because it will repel about 90% of the sun's rays, so you're not getting all heated up. 1/2 inch rebar on looks like 16-inch centers. You can see how we did that. He brought the rebar up out and then just bent it over to tie it in. Looks good. Okay, we're back here with Mike Bray. He's showing us this PEX tubing. Go ahead, Mike, tell him about that.
It's made for a radiant floor, and it's different material than their regular PEX water line.
Whoa. It's 1/2 inch. It's really stiff, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Wow, that is hard.
Stiff.
Wow. What does it say on there? Say anything good?
Barrier PEX, 1/2 inch. Didn't say what it is.
Well, like the last time we were talking, you can see here now what they're running 7 quadrants with 250 feet in a run. So that's 1,750. It's about 2,000 square feet, which is right at what we've got here in the first floor. And you can see how they're running that. We overdid the concrete. We were planning on doing the 2 inches of foam. I think we talked about this last time. We went with the radiant barrier that was recommended. So now we're going to end up with 8 inches of concrete, 7.5. So in reality, this thing is going to be a bigger battery. The concrete slab is the battery that's going to hold the energy that the PEX tubing gives off, the heat. And it will take a little longer for it to heat up, but once it gets heated up, it will retain that heat for a longer period. So we don't know if that's going to be more cost efficient. I think it will in the end. bigger battery, I think it will work. It just worked out that way. We'll see.
Most difficult spot.
Yeah, where we're having the most.
Well, that's what we want, is the most difficult spot.
You still got a foot there. You don't have to make a loop quick.
Let's do something like that right there.
But now our plans are showing the tube coming back just about 3 inches off of this.
So, is there any problem with running it too close to each other?
They gotta be foot spacing. Because the amount of BTUs that this pipe will hold in will radiate
to
a
an
foot.
extent, Joe, because we're 6 inches.
Yeah.
I know, but that's the return line.
So the return is a little cooler.
Right.
Yeah. So they allow you on this. How long you guys been doing this?
Yeah.
Since this morning.
It's about 8 o'clock.
About 8 o'clock this morning.
There's not very many people in this area that call for radiant floor heat.
Yeah. What do you think of it?
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, Bill.
I didn't have to run any of the pipes like this when I was working at Norman. I just got to see it done. It's different being on the other end of the roll.
So what kind of heater are we going to heat this up with?
Yeah, but basically instantaneous water heater.
Yeah, you have any idea of what?
50,000 BTU.
50,000?
Gas, natural gas.
Natural gas?
Is it natural out here
No,
or
it's
propane?
propane.
Propane out here.
Propane?
Gonna be, yeah, outside of that.
Do you have any idea what the efficiency is on something like this?
96% or 97%. I'm pretty sure it's really, we're not going to be losing very much of it. It'll
No.
actually be, the flue pipe, instead of being a double wall metal vent pipe, will be a PVC.
96 to 97% energy efficient.
Correct.
Man, that's great. And you're running on propane, which is, it's got to be about the cheapest energy that we can.
Should be. Not maybe as good as natural gas, but close.
How far?
Yeah. Well, you don't have access to natural gas out here, but propane is a good alternative.
And it was there somewhere.
See, I like this. They use the 1/2-inch rebar out here, and we were talking before. You know, a lot of contractors will use that 6-inch wire mesh, but when they pour the concrete on it, it flattens out and lays down on the bottom of the slab. Whereas this stuff, you can see, guys don't like to walk on it because it's hard on their feet, and they'll stand in between the joints. That way it doesn't get bent up. You can stand on that 1/2 inch, but it's uncomfortable.
Yep.
So I always like to see rebar in a slab. All
How
right,
far back do you look?
Mike's going to tell us a little bit about the cost of this this system we're putting in here.
The system's probably in the
holds the
$10,000
rebar.
range, right at 10,000 with a heater. So it's more expensive than
We look back to
just
you.
regular heat and air, but I think it'll be more efficient. So
Yeah, it's a one-time expense, and you're looking at, we just figured it up, it's right at 2,300 square feet, and that's labor and materials, the manifold, the PEX, the heater.
this should be all the radiant floor costs.
Yeah, all the radiant floor costs. Now, does that include any of the other plumbing?
No.
No, that's just for the plumbing and the heating for that system there. That's still not bad one-time expense if you're going to get 96, 97% energy efficiency.
Yeah.
It's going to pay for. If it saves you $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year. It'll pay for itself in 7 years. Yeah,
I bet it probably will.
yeah, and this system will last for.
Hope it lasts 20 years.
Oh, it'll last 50, 70, 100 years probably. That's some tough stuff. It's a little foggier today. But we're pouring the slab. You can see all the radiant PEX tubing there. All the plumbing's been boxed in. These are the J bolts, and they go in the concrete, and then we're going to bolt our riser wall down with that. Now this is old school right here, and this is what's going to hold your house down when everybody else. This is the technology they used 40, 50 years ago. That was the building practices. Now they use what's called a Hilti gun, and they pop a stainless steel nail into the concrete, and that works fine as long as there's horizontal movement, but if there's any lift, it'll pull that pin right out, and that's why all these houses are getting blown away with the tornadoes. That's part of the problem. So you put something like this in the concrete, it's going to hold your base plate down, and if your base plate is attached to a good stress panel, like our riser walls are, our whole dome is rated as a stress panel. It's all built, glued, and nailed, so the engineers tell us that the weakest point on our dome is how it's attached to the ground. And they advise us to put 2 bolts in, so we put in 4. They say 2 between every section, we put in 4. And they estimate, they can't tell us at what point it'll break down. They do say that when it goes, it's all going to go in one piece. So estimates are about 250 miles per hour. They can't really say because everything's computer generated. So they're working from modeling. So the only way they can really say is if it withstands a tornado in excess of 250 miles an hour, but that's their best guess. And these are people from the engineering department at OU and OSU and retired NASA engineers, Norton Schmidt out of Kansas City. I've had a lot of people look at this, and that's what they recommend. So we took their recommendation and then we doubled it.